Yakmala! Yakmala! Welcome back, my friends, to the Cult Film Showdown. I am your host, Starchild Stanadu, and I am joined by my good friends. I got Catman James Cotta.
I'm glad you chose Catman. I'm waiting. I can't wait for the explanation of this film so I can find out what Catman's powers were. Because I've seen this movie a dozen times and I still have no idea. So happy to be here. Happy to talk about this exciting film.
That's right. And of course, we have Space Nick Boxer.
I was really hoping for the onk. Greetings and salutations.
And then finally, we have the demon. Yeah.
You don't know what to call me? Well, my last name is DeWitt. My first name is Kenny. So go ahead and say it.
Kenny DeWitt.
There you go. Or Jack Hall.
Or Jack Hall. Fair enough. Well, I mean, if you can't guess by now, we are, of course, preparing to talk about Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, which to any Kiss Army member is not a good movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie, and to any member of the band Kiss is less so. but that's okay. So, James, why don't you tell us about the concept for this season as we progress? We are getting near to the end now.
This is 85 Minutes of Fame is the name of this season. The concept of this season is that all of these films star typically one person, but in this case, four people who are best known for something other than films. So we've got Kiss, which is, definitely better known as the hottest band in the world. And this would be the one film where the one live action film where they play themselves. I believe they've done a Scooby-Doo one since, right?
Yeah, that's
right.
They
have an animated one since.
Scooby-Doo, yeah.
At least one. They did some animated. There's a couple
Detroit
of animated
Rock
things.
City.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Yeah, I guess sort of.
Well, in fairness,
Yeah.
it's got the same number of Kiss members as Scooby-Doo. So.
That's right. That's right. So yes, that is the concept of the season is famous for something other than movies.
That's right. All right, now, Nick, please tell us all about the story for Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Oh, I'm enjoying your joy in announcing, because I have no idea what went on in this movie, because it's a kind of rambling plot. Alrighty. So, Kiss is playing a theme park for some reason. This theme park is on the brink of bankruptcy due to its creator, designer / mad scientist overspending on animatronics. When this mad scientist theme park designer is fired from the park, he kind of gets mad and starts taking over more people with his electronic gadgets, because that's a parallel science to making animatronics, I think. Since Kiss is there and hanging out, he gets pissed off at them and tries to take them over, but they have space powers, or new age space powers, that are very, very ill-defined. And there's some bullshit with his assistant Sam and his girlfriend Melissa, which is actually the bulk of the movie, but is completely uninteresting. Did I do okay?
No, I think you did not give it the energy it needed for what it is.
I kind of thought this movie needed some energy.
Really? Oh man, I love this. I'll say it right up front. I don't know how everybody else felt about it, but not to spoil too much on the scoring, but I love this. I had such a good time watching this.
the thing about this movie is that you know, like we talked about last episode with Abraxas, where it was just like it didn't go far enough. Well, in this case, this one went all the way, because you talk about having a guy who creates animatronics and who suddenly is able to take over people and make them do his bidding for some strange reason. You have him like just the fact that he's getting fired from his job, and of course Kiss is there. I mean, like, everything, the coincidences are just enormous.
He's getting fired. He's complaining that, you know, he's made himself and the park owner millionaires. But I mean, then they talk about how much money they're spending on these animatronics, and I'm like, it was like $250,000 or something like that, and I'm like, come on. Keep it a little realistic.
I love that.
Everything's over the top in this, which I love.
I think you mentioned he can take over people and then just stops doing that.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's one of the funniest things to me, is that, like, it's never clear the level of skill this guy has, because at one point they show this incredibly simple animatronic that's basically just like it's a stuffed gorilla that leans forward, and probably something that was in the real.
That was $250,000.
But
no, he said that was like $30,000 or something. He didn't say that one wasn't, I guess, crazy, but he still made it, and he was really proud of it. And then, like, he's got a mind control thing that just looks like an old piece of Radio Shack transistor glued to the guy's neck, and that's enough to control his mind. And then you expect that he's going to use that technology again, and then doesn't.
Well, he does. He does use it.
For kids. He just makes other versions of them.
Yeah, no, but he does use
evil
it
versions to fight.
with the gang. He uses it.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
but they just forget about those immediately.
Those kids that are causing trouble in the park, the evil gang that was in their early 40s.
Yes.
I actually had a question about the gang. Was this a thing at some point, this type of gang? Or is
that
it
age?
just rip-offs of like a Marlon Brando thing?
I think it is that
in a couple movies.
I think it's that cliche of like what street toughs are like if you've never seen one.
Yeah,
like it is very much like a James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, or the Wild. Like, I mean, the Wild One is the Wild Ones is definitely Wild One singular. Is definitely. I mean, that had such a gigantic impact on the view of what a person like that was like.
Well, the three characters are named Chopper, Slime, and Dirty D.
I mean, very much. I mean, the Hell's Angels was also, like, you know, had only been a thing for about a decade at this point. Like, so that cliche. I think they're supposed to be, like, I think what Hell's Angels is more they were going for than Street Toughs. Because, I mean, it's also because of the name, but also because of the age. But they're just like, which just leads to the question: why are three Hell's Angels hanging around this park?
And why is only one of them wearing like a cut? Is the question.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's okay.
None of those things answer anything. They just raise more questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and this is good at raising questions. Like, there's no shortage. Like, at the end of this movie, if you couldn't write like 6 pages of questions, just like going through the whole thing, I'm not sure. You obviously weren't watching the movie.
I mentioned that it's never made clear what Catman's powers are, Peter Criss.
Well, no, he has agility, enhanced agility and speed.
Does he?
Yes.
And leaping powers.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's just they're less flashy than the other guy's powers. That's all.
I think at one point he jumps high.
Mm-hmm.
He does,
but it still doesn't like it. It's still
slow motion.
One of them can teleport.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
really
One of them
space
breathes
ace.
fire, and he can jump high. Like, how did he get so screwed on this movie?
Peter Criss's charisma is from being the black hole of charisma. He has an anti-charisma that gives him charisma, and that even applies to his powers that they got. And of course, they got these powers in the comic book first, which came out a year before this came out, the Marvel comic.
Oh, okay, fascinating.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting how they try to tie this from the Marvel comic into this with the talismans. Now, why the talismans were actually kept at the theme park in the first place was kind of weird. I assume that Kiss needs to bring them with them wherever they go. But
they just took them off for no reason, basically. Let's just take off these pieces to give us powers.
And we're going to put them in a red box, and we're going to leave the red box in a glass cabinet in the theme park for some strange reason, as opposed to, like, say, on the tour bus or on the jet. That we just, or in their case, where they came out of was the RV that they were staying in at one point. But,
I kind of thought it was they had to have them close somehow.
And they do have to have them close.
Proximity.
Yes.
Yeah, I figure.
But why they were there in the first place and not just, with Kiss, like, you'd think that Bill O'Quan could be there, like, holding those in some cases, opposed to, I don't know, like, their manager should have had that, you'd think.
No, I had the feeling that Peter Criss was forced to carry around that little box everywhere they went. Well, he was stuck with the bench work.
Oh, well, there's no question that like, there's really, when it comes to, like, Ace and Peter, it's just like...
Well, they were both, at this point, they were both really messed up on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, and they were always on the way out.
Yeah. Like, this, at this point, they were showing up on set, and at one point, Chris, Ace Frehley walked off the set because he didn't have any lines because... They when they met him, he didn't see anything, so they didn't give him any lines, like the writers of the movie.
Except Ack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I'm not even sure they gave him that, but yeah, he walked off wanting some lines. So
no, and it's interesting.
He would be smarter keeping himself without any.
Yes,
but
it's interesting though, because of course we wound up watching the European theatrical cut, which is on Kisstery Part 2, which I have, and so. It's interesting to see that versus the original. I know that the very first time that I saw this, I was watching the actual American TV edit. And so the thing about the American TV edit is that like he says "ack" a lot more, like Ace does. There is different elements to it, and one of the biggest things is the soundtrack difference is completely crazy in the European cut because they're using all these tracks, and most of, like, all Kiss tracks, and most of them are from the solo albums, which is just so freaking weird because the solo albums just, especially if you're a Kiss fan, you know that the solo albums are really so near the end of this incarnation of Kiss.
And that's part of the thing is they're using mostly songs from the solo albums because they're the most recent albums.
Yes.
But far from being their biggest albums. And the other thing about it is they'll use a song from Gene Simmons while they're the camera is focusing on a different character. Like at one point there, Gene Simmons is walking through and destroying things, and it's his robot, but whatever. It's basically saying being all Gene Simmons and being awesome. Just walking through, destroying buildings, and they're playing New York Groove from Ace Frehley, and you're like, really? Like you can't play Gene Simmons song or Gene Simmons.
Honest to God, I never think of that as an Ace Frehley song. I just think of it as a completely divorced song from the band.
Well, it
so
is.
It came out of nowhere, yeah.
And it's a cover song. It's not even originally his song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so strange. Like it's like they've taken something and they've tried to make it better, and in trying to make it better, they maybe the edit's better, but the rest of it is weirder because it's just like you're like, wait, why is there a Peter Criss love song right now? I don't understand.
Oh, I'll give you a little bit on the band gang because I'm looking it up right now. The biker character Chopper wears a Satan's Mother biker patch on his vest. Mm. And that patch is the same one used for the band of the same, or the gang of the same name of the Warriors.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which came out a year later. So
nice.
Fantastic.
The Warriors took something from this, and the Warriors, of course, is a great movie.
I love it.
Yeah. This one, there's no question. I mean, it's not a great movie, not at all, but it's silly as hell.
Well, yeah, it is silly. I mean, there's fight scenes, and they actually Hanna-Barbera actually added cartoon music to make sure the fight scenes weren't too intense so it could still be suitable for children. Think about that. They're fighting like giant, like werewolf type cat creatures, and they're worried that this is too violent. Like it's ridiculous. It's so much fun.
I mean, in fairness, though, that Chamber of Thrills or whatever it's called, I mean, that has some guy getting whipped, and meanwhile, there was a little girl down there in the early stage of the movie, and I'm just looking, and it's just all like terrible, evil things for the most part, and of course, Mummy and Dracula and stuff like that, and the Wolfman, but like, and it's kind of like, really, would you bring a child down to this in the first place?
That's true.
Like and even the theme park actually can't decide what it wants to be, because of course it's Magic Mountain, and then with the addition of these terrible animatronic characters that have no focus. It's not like Disneyland and their relatively focused animatronic characters. No, this is just like, you've got the Chamber of Thrills down here. Meanwhile, upstairs you've got a gorilla, and then you've got somebody else doing. Oh, a barbershop quartet that he's working on, because, why not?
I enjoyed the Spaceman.
Oh, yes, the Spaceman. And the Star Trek aliens that, like, I don't know, like the Star Trek aliens that are, that fight Kiss later on, that they dispatch quite easily.
Yeah. Yes, they referred to as white apes in the IMDb listing, but yeah, I didn't call them white apes from, actual.
I thought they're I thought they were animal. I thought they were cat werewolf type thing. So, wonderful animatronics there. But hey, they kicked their ass. That's where we had them. That's actually, I guess that wasn't the fight scene. It was the fight scene in the basement against the monsters, where it was clearly not Ace Frehley. It was clearly his African American stunt couple that was fighting for him.
Oh, which was so classic when you see the black character. That's going
I know. It's just amazing.
Really, you decided
such a wonderful film.
You decided that for Ace Frehley that was the right choice. I guess
the right person. Yeah, the person of a different ethnicity is the right person to double him. And when he doesn't show up because he's drunk, you have to use him, and then you have that scene, and it's wonderful. Oh, I love it. Are you guys ready to score this sucker? Because we could be talking for a while when we're scoring.
Yes, it's true.
All right. Well, in our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories. None of these categories is objective quality. The first one's called Schlock Appeal, and then we start with Dan. Actually, before we start, I want to ask one question.
Oh, what did we learn from this?
You need to ask one question. I need to ask one question then. My question is, I want some context of how big a Kiss fan all of us are. So how many times has each of us seen Kiss live? I've seen them twice. I saw the final tour with the final reunion tour with the original band, and then I saw them just a couple of years ago with I think it might have been the stuntman who was in this actually. So it's
I've seen them twice. Once in makeup and once not.
Okay.
I've seen them 3 times in makeup. I've also seen Ace like twice,
true. I saw Ace solo
and
twice,
and Ace and Peter
once,
and then also as well I've seen Kiss tribute like twice. Yeah.
The Hotter Than Hell, was it the Hotter Than Hell tribute band that?
I don't.
I think that's the one I saw.
I don't remember. I know there's it's been
pretty great.
Yeah.
And honestly, last night as I was going to bed, I was playing Kiss as I was trying to fall asleep. So
yes. No, and also seen Gene live. So.
Oh, it's Gene. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's right.
No,
that's what
I'm
Gene
the
gave
low
that
man on the
speech to the
totem
little
pole
girl
then.
about. What was that?
I'm the low man on the totem pole then, because I've only seen them once, but I have seen Black Diamond twice. So.
Oh, Black Diamond.
Black Diamond. There you go.
That was it. I think I might have seen Hotter Than Hell and Black Diamond.
When I was at San Diego Comic-Con once, and I was waiting in line to get served at the Lego counter at the Lego booth, and Gene Simmons wandered in, and everyone's attention was on him. And I'm like, I'm trying to complete a transaction, but I guess that 7-foot tall guy in the middle of the Lego booth is what everyone wants to pay attention to.
We had a chance to Stan and I had a chance to quickly meet Gene in one of those shoots you do where you pay for the celebrity shoots at a convention, and we brought the Kiss Cola in, and he looks at us with him because I mean, he'd love it that we bought some of his product, because not that Kiss puts their name on anything, but it's a rare thing. So we walk in with this, and he looks at it and goes, "What do you got there?" And we go, "We got Kiss Colas." Kiss Colas? Good. Like that. Takes the picture with us. That's cool. It's awesome.
Awesome. I love it. All right. We rate each film in 5 categories. Unless you want to do the question now.
I don't know if we have anything else. Did you guys learn anything from this other than Kiss will do anything for money?
I learned that you only need minimal participation from a non-actor to put them in the title.
I can confirm for you guys, Kiss was given crash courses in acting before this film. I know it's hard to believe, but they actually were.
Yeah. Crash
being the operative term.
Yeah. I like that I was, maybe, no, I'll do it now. I like that I was thinking to myself, I guess Peter Criss is actually the best actor. He delivers the lines the best. And then I found out later, doing my research for this, because his accent was so strong, they wanted him to redub everything because he has this really strong Brooklyn accent. And he refused to show up. So all his acting, all his dialogue is done by a veteran voice actor that Hanna-Barbera used in all their cartoons. So if you're like, boy, he delivers his lines better than the other guys, it's because it wasn't actually him.
I learned that Peter Criss has no chin. There's some side-on shots there that have, the makeup just has to pick a spot to stop. It kind of just goes from mouth to neck. You just
You're right.
You wear makeup, you could draw a line or something. You could make it look like you have more there.
And I learned that in actuality, off stage is Kiss, but on stage during concerts, apparently it's one of their crew dressed as Kiss that plays the guitar and drums. Guys that are twice as old as the band members at the time. Oh, the concert scene. I love that concert scene is 3 nights they play a concert, same crowd every night, same clothes, same.
That's what happens when you do only play one concert.
It's a small town, but they're loyal fans, so what can you do?
It just stayed. Yeah.
Although
hours, we're saying.
Important lesson: don't try any new music with a crowd like that, because they started booing within 2 lines.
I know.
But that's because they were supposed to. Because because they were supposed to be getting angry because of course I assume that the lyrics for that version of Hotter Than Hell, the rip and that became Rip and Destroy, I assume that there was mind control in the lyrics, because I'm guessing that our evil villain wrote those lyrics.
What are you? Boy, now you're stretching it.
Stan has fallen into the trap I often do of creating story for the movie makers.
Hey, it could use some help, so I'm willing to give it an assist.
A little touch there. All right.
Yeah. Let's get to the score.
5 categories, none of which is objective quality. The first category is schlock appeal, and we start with Stan.
Well, it's Kiss is super schlocky just to begin with.
Are they the schlockiest band? I was trying to think of this. I'm because you have bands like War out there and a bunch of other bands that are super schlocky as well. But considering when they started being schlocky and everything like that, which was after Alice Cooper, but they're more schlocky. Are they the schlockiest band of all time?
I think they probably are because everybody else that took it to a new level of schlocky basically was only doing it because of Kiss. Like Alice Cooper inspired other people to be like scary and stuff like that, but Kiss inspired people to wear makeup and be over the top.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, I think I would give credit to Alice Cooper for a lot of what they were doing. They just took it so much further and really made themselves into cartoon characters. And then literally into cartoon characters.
Yes, exactly.
and comic characters, and so
the merchandising level of it makes it that much more schlocky. Like certainly, like you said, Gwar and I mean to a lesser extent, Blink-182, like these bands that made that part of their personality, the over the top stuff. But yeah, like I mean, to add in the comic book and the dripping blood into the red ink in the comic, and like they just go so far.
Yeah. I mean,
they're wonderful.
There's no question. Yeah, I mean, Kiss is just it's and this is one of those cases where I think this is kind of exactly what they should have expected out of a movie like this at the time. When you talk about the Marvel comic, which isn't very good either per se.
Well, they were sold this by saying it's going to be a Hard Day's Night meets Star Wars, and that was how they sold it to them. And so, I mean, they were super pissed when it came out, and for years you weren't allowed to talk to them about it. You weren't allowed to mention the movie, but now they've gotten over it. But,
well, yeah, and I get that, and I totally understand it, and we know that Gene and Paul, just from being Gene and Paul, are so protective of Kiss in that regard, and especially back then. But I mean, I don't know how you could have expected anything else than this when you talk about Kiss and you talk about talismans and you talk about a TV movie, and I mean, and it's truly everything just thrown into one screen. So I mean I got to give it a 9.
Yeah, no, you have to go high on this movie. Maybe not for the movie, but for Kiss themselves. And for me, there's a certain nostalgic schlock because this movie was hard to see at one point in my life. It wasn't, I mean, it didn't have huge VHS distribution. You had to go out and look for it. I don't think it's ever been issued on DVD.
Yeah, it has.
Not until the box set, just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, well, the box set came out, I guess the box set that it's on, History 2, probably is about 10 years old. But again, that's only the European version, and the American TV version came out quickly, but is now extremely hard to find. Good luck seeing that version, really.
Okay, but anyway, I mean, this lives up to some of the Godzilla movies that I would search out and they were impossible to find. Now it's simple, but I remember when I first really started getting into schlocky movies, it was up there and I wanted to see it and I couldn't. So huge, 9.
Didn't you at one point, Stan, actually, it was a total fluke that you as a fan even found this VHS? Can you find it someplace that you would never expect to find it? That's where you bought it from?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the original copy that I had. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is totally. I got a 10 on this. I mean, Gene Simmons being all I'm big and I'm strong. That's my powers, and I'm in your face. Like, it's just so in your face. Like, it's just so schlocky. And I had so much fun watching this. The combination of the music, which I love, combined with the schlockiness of the schlock, made it as schlocky as I could possibly give it. I'm definitely giving it a 10.
I think, I mean, for me, the schlock appeal is a lot about marketing. The schlock appeal is about the posters and the imagery that go with it. And part of it is what it sounds like when I tell someone about the movie. Like, as I'm often telling my wife Lacey what the next movie or two I'm going to watch is.
Sorry, what's Lacey's last name?
Lacey under Alcada. That's her last name, hyphenated.
Yeah.
So often I'm telling her, like, I watched this movie with Evel Knievel in it, and I did this and that. But Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. like you know everything about it in the name and the imagery that comes into your mind because of Kiss, because of because of who they are,
and it's exactly what it
because
sounds
of the timing of this movie, etc. Yeah, perfect 10 for me. More heart than budget. Reported budget is $3 million US, 1978.
I mean, I think that
I have heard $2 million. By the way, you say $3 million. I heard a budget of $2 million for it. Either way, that's expensive for a TV movie.
It is a little pricey, yeah, because I think that was really with the idea that they were going to have a theatrical as well as the TV part. Because you might go that high with a pilot, but not for a typical TV movie. Wikipedia is where I got mine, so who knows?
I got mine on IMDb, so
yeah.
Either way, yeah, it's somewhere between $2 and $3 million.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, when you talk about it, at least it has its explosions, it has its special effects and stuff like that. It has
Barbershop Quartet.
Yes, it has the magic. It has Magic Mountain. It has Kiss, and I mean, I love the fact that especially when it comes down to Gene and Paul, like you want to talk about two guys who put everything that they could into this movie. It was Gene and Paul. Like, Paul is super serious. Gene is super serious about actually attempting to make this brilliant. And I mean, you've got the rest of it. It's a disaster in that regard. Like, I can't go super duper all the way high because I think that because it is such a large budget for a lot of elements that nowadays could be done.
In, right?
Yes, yes.
Like they're cashing in on their fame. It's such a cash in.
But
two of the actors didn't give a shit at all.
Yeah, but that's Kiss. So I mean that's
true.
Like, that's the kind of baggage that Kiss just drags along with them wherever they go. So I find it hard to fault that because that's just the way that they are. I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny judging this movie for heart because I truly do think Kiss gave it all they had. They just didn't have a lot of experience in this area, and everyone else was hired. So yeah, I'll give them a 7 for like Kiss wanting to do a movie, and the studio thinking they could make some money off of it. But that's all there is here. It's we got Kiss, let's make a movie, and then Kiss comes in and, tries hard.
Or two of them did, as I say. Yeah, I mean, the fact is that so many people who made this movie do not list it on their credits. Kind of tells me what people think of it and how much effort was put in. But I can't go too low because there's just a certain appeal to the movie, and I love it. So I'm going to give it a 6.
I think when you talk about Hard Day's Night, and I think in the context of Hard Day's Night, this is a different movie than in the context of other movies at the time, because I mean, Hard Day's Night is it's a fun movie. They appear silly. Ringo gets to be like the clown with a heart of gold. Some of the guys were more into it than others. Ringo loved doing the movies, and John couldn't care less. So I think in that context, 7's also what I'm going to give it because I think the heart comes from we're a giant band and we should make a movie the way that the Beatles did and the way that other bands of the time were doing. So it's it's in that world that this is the kind of thing that you should do. What the fuck moments?
Well, I know that Jack's going to have a field day with the errors, of course, in this movie. So I'll kind of
no. Go ahead.
No. I'm going to leave a lot of those. But so I mean, this one starts right away when you see, of course, Magic Mountain, and then the next thing you know, you've got Kiss on green screen, in the like bumper car or in the one little the ride, and superimposed over top of the rest of the park, and then they're just wandering around over top of the rest of the park. I mean, it's fantastic right off the bat. Those kind of things are like, that's gold. That's Kiss gold right there. Of course, Chopper and the gang, and even just the names like Chopper and Slime and Dirty D. I mean, that's fantastic stuff. Now, I think our first introduction to the actual animatronics. They're talking in the park. So Abner Devereaux and I guess the other character that owned.
Oh my God! You bothered to learn his name? I'm shocked.
Seen the movie enough, but anyways, and so in the background, there's this cluster of people around two animatronic characters that are playing baseball. And if you watch those two animatronic characters playing baseball, they're playing baseball really badly. It's like, I don't understand why there are two animatronic characters that can't hit the baseball, because like there's one of the guys is standing beside it and picks up the baseball that the bat completely missed, and I'm like, wait a minute now, why is a whole group of people watching this terrible group of animatronic people playing baseball? It seemed really crazy. And then, I mean, there's
the
so
70s,
much.
man. They were hard up for entertainment.
Apparently.
No internet yet.
Yeah,
no mobile
phones.
phones.
You wouldn't want to go into the Chamber of Thrills or anything like that. But and then later
Actually,
on,
you wouldn't.
later on, there's this part where of course Abner has captured Kiss, and he's says, "Oh yes, you have front row seats for your concert," and he turns his little control unit around, and I'm like, it's front row seats on the smallest screens humanly imaginable.
8-inch screens across the room. Like I think that is about the size that I saw Kiss, but I wouldn't consider them front row seats.
Yeah.
I think technically they were the back row.
And then of course, of course, Ace Frehley, stunt double. Every time you saw him, that was amazing stuff. But what really sold it for me was the fact that it's just like, I know it's the real Kiss, because the second that the real Kiss got on stage and Paul started up with his stage banter, and from that moment on, it's just like, well, that's obviously the real Kiss, because Paul is just jibber jabbering away like Paul does.
And doing his dance.
Yes.
I love it. That Paul
yes.
Stanley dance and the stage banter that nobody has ever done like him. Hello! Splash Mountain or whatever, Magic Mountain.
Oh.
Are you ready to rock and roll? Yeah, I just love it.
It's got to tell like a 5-minute story to lead into Detroit Rock City.
Exactly. That has nothing to do with
you're
Minnesota.
wondering yourselves, you're sitting there to yourselves and you're wondering, are we gonna rock and roll tonight? You're thinking, are we gonna rock and roll? Are we gonna party tonight? Well, let me tell you something. You have the most beautiful women I have ever seen in this city. And we're going to rock and roll all night with those women and party every day. Dun, 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 dun.
So let's now play Hotter Than Hell. I was in the back room and I spilled a glass of water and then I licked it up. All right.
I know you're wondering yourself, how did the inspiration for the song come about?
All right, I think we can carry on with this for the next 2 hours. Let's try not to. I'm going to give this one a 9 as well.
Wow, that's high.
Thought we were keeping track. I forgot we were keeping track there for a second.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, I gotta write this down.
Yeah, there's a ton of WTFs in this, but unfortunately for me, I can explain away a lot of them just because of the comic booky, and I hate the term, but it's the only way to express this, vibe that Kiss has in this movie and in general. The one that really got me, though, was the world's slowest elevator that they talk about being the world's fastest elevator.
Well, no, he said he was going to send her up much slower.
No, much
Oh, yeah.
faster.
No,
No.
I got a feeling that was a little improv on set to explain why the elevator was indeed going incredibly slow.
You're right.
She came down really fast, enough that they said, she said, I was going to get the bends. And so then he said, I'm going to send you up slower. And in doing so, sent her up at 1 centimeter per, and I assume that the glass encasing was soundproof because he started already cackling and talking about his next evil scheme. Meanwhile, she's still going up in the elevator. I mean, so yeah, I hope it's soundproof.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a bad set piece. Anyway, it didn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff, but really none of it's worth calling out, I don't think. I can only go as high as a 7. I mean, it is W2F, but nothing shocked me. Nothing took me out of the movie that I'm kind of looking forward for the W2F.
Oh, okay. Well, you talk about, you can explain away.
I mean,
that's
a fairly high score. It's not.
No, that's a good score. That's a good score. But you say you could explain away most of it being Kiss, just being Kiss. But there is just the incompetence of the filmmaking. But to me, the most Kiss, like we talk about Kiss, the most Kiss moment, the most WTF, the most to me, there's absolutely no reason for that. I've never seen that even from these guys before. It's the chainmail thing. It was the fact that these guys were wearing this chainmail outfits in the middle of the park when it's clearly 100 degrees out. And they're in this super hot, clearly super hot and super uncomfortable outfits that I've never seen them wear before or since. That's this night chainmail stuff. To me is one of the great WTFs of all time, and it's just indicative of this movie. I got a 9 on this as myself as well.
That weird. It's not quite chainmail. It's not. It's like a heavy. What? It's a very heavy cloak. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. I thought it was chainmail.
Well,
ankle.
That's a big part of the whole superhero aspect is the.
The kind of cloakies, cloaks, and
I think it's not even they wear that around the park at night. They wear it when they're chatting, but they wear it when they're sitting in
outside at 100 degrees when it's clearly really hot.
Yeah, lifeguard chairs at the pool.
Yeah,
and they're alone. I think there's the pool.
That's the other thing. This park is open, and Kiss is not being mobbed by any fans at any point. They just around the park, there's a point where there's the girl and the concert's over and they're we're going to head back to our hotel room or whatever, and next thing you know, they're just sitting there for no reason singing to the girl.
Which is a great version of Beth. The fact that Beth with an acoustic guitar, booyah.
That's your best acoustic version of Beth, actually, even better than the unplugged version in the album. Yeah. Anyways. Sorry, we stepped all over you there.
I think it's that they're at the pool and everything in that outfit, but also I think the pool is the point at the movie where it started being weird that they're always in costume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but wasn't that a Kiss thing at this point? Is that they weren't Gene Simmons they were the demon and.
No. The Carmen Appice, I just read his biography. He would talk about how he would go out with Paul Stanley, who's a friend, around this time, and people would come to him for the autographs because nobody recognized Paul without his makeup on. I'm really? Because he's still all Paul Stanley to me. But hey,
well, that's the thing. I remember the National Enquirer having a bounty on photos of Kiss, and every once in a while you get a picture where they were trying to put a jacket up over their face and the paparazzi were coming after them. I remember that kind of era, but it's even then they would be wearing other clothes and the makeup.
Yeah.
Not like
yeah.
this, like, because there's a point at which that Gene walks across a room or something, and he's got those giant knee things that are just slapping into his thighs as he walks, and he's on the 8-inch heels.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this, why would you spend your day like this? Like, where's one scene where you got the makeup but you're in 3-piece suits?
Oh,
Like,
well, and of course we can't forget there's that part where they get onto the to the carousel, and Paul steps on first, and he tries to put his foot over, and he stumbles over top of the horse that he's getting on because of the costume. I mean, oh yeah, but the thing about that is that is the superhero aspect. Is that when they are Kiss the superheroes, and this is built in the comic book, is that, then this is their superhero outfit. And that they have to transform out of being the superheroes to actually be normal.
Yeah, like you read Avengers comics or X-Men comics or whatever at the time, and everyone's just hanging around at dinner in costume.
That's true.
But at the time, that was like, everyone at the Avengers mansion would be having, a turkey dinner for Thanksgiving, and they're in costume.
Somehow in actual reality, in a real life situation, it's different than in a comic.
Yeah.
Like in a movie, it really stands out.
Because you're only going to get one page of that before the fight starts. I do think it's what the fucky that you like everything we've said about this movie, everything we've said about the idea and the Hard Day's Night and the this and the that, and Kiss does not appear as characters until a half an hour into this film.
True.
It's 33 minutes into an 85-minute movie that they start talking.
And in fact, I believe that in the TV version, I actually think it's longer before they actually come in.
Well, because the TV version has another song or two or something, because the TV version's longer than this cut.
Yeah.
It's almost 10 minutes longer.
Yeah, so, and I actually feel like it's closer to the 40-minute version, 40 minutes, the part that they come in the TV version, because that was one of the things that that I was shocked about the very first time that I saw it, was this whole concept of like, hey, where the fuck is Kiss?
Yeah, exactly.
It's you're like, remember Detroit Rock City where they don't show up and actually do anything? Like, it feels like that. Is that again? You mentioned the carousel scene. So there's a bit where the park is closed and Kiss gets onto the carousel, and then like the Deveraux is being all evil, and he starts turning on lights and stuff at the park, and that's all.
And then he turns them off.
At no point in this film am I ever clear what his plan is.
Neither
really
is he.
And it's just anarchy by the end. Like, really, the whole taking over Kiss thing seems just to be about destroying the park, not about like getting his job back or getting.
Yeah, it's just a revenge plot at that point. Oh yeah, no, Deveraux is the single worst developed character from a plan perspective ever. Like, it's just like, I don't know his end goal. I'm not even sure. Like, he talks in the beginning, of course, about like, you've cut my budget for funding, for research and development. And then they start talking about, well, you've got to keep the park going as well. And he's just like, yes, well, the park's going to, like, these are all like new creations. Of course there's going to be problems. And I'm like, don't you fix them? Like, that's part of your job too. Like, we in fact showed a ride that was going almost off the rails earlier, but we forgot about that one conveniently as well. So
I feel like if at any point he had shown the park owner the animatronic kiss thing that he had made, he's like, hey, I got these things. If you signed a deal, we can have Kiss the Park all the damn time.
Yeah.
Movie ends.
you just solved the movie like that. I never thought of that. That's sort of an easy solution. Everybody's happy. Nobody has to get killed. Yeah.
He's just too busy having the gorilla out in the park. He doesn't want the good things. The good things are for his secret plan.
How does he have the budget to just suddenly just make these, like we talk about, if at least $30,000 to make? So in other words, you can just go and make things and nobody's like, so what are you spending the money on? Like, you can make these Kiss ones that don't just stand still like the Gorilla, which is 30,000. These are like $250,000 because they can walk. They're like full of robots, and nobody's like, so what's, I'll just give you $1 million here. Go make whatever you want.
And he can build them in a matter of like a day.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that he's being fired, and so he's still got this, secret lair under the park, which of course the girl knows about, but
and we should mention at this point at no point in time is he ever a phantom. Like, there is no phantom in this park at all.
I feel it's funny. Like, I mean, this was made by Hanna-Barbera, which is interesting in itself. That it's like a Scooby-Doo story if you spent way more time with the park owner before he gets unmasked at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
and if you lack the interesting character that is Scooby-Doo, the problem is that in this movie, Kiss is still the exact same as they would be in Scooby-Doo and as they were in that Scooby-Doo. Yeah. But the thing is that what you lack in this case, it's the girl and like the story of her boyfriend, which is supposed to take the place of like the Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. gang, and they're nowhere near as interesting as Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. gang.
No, that girl is boring.
The last bit I want to hit here is there's one line, the amazing, the lovely and talented Brian James is in this film. We love Brian James, and he plays a guard, very small, one of his first roles. He was working actor stuff, and he's a guard at the park. He's had a run-in with the animatronic Gene Simmons, and he gets threatened by the park owner. He says, if you don't calm down, I'm going to put you on the graveyard shift. And I'm like, the guy already works at night when the park is closed. What is the other shift?
What is the graveyard shift?
It's so true. I thought that myself.
That's the graveyard shift at this park starts from 10 o'clock a.m. to 6.
That's actually the time you don't want to be there, because then you have to deal with Chopper and Slime.
That's right. By graveyard, I mean like daytime.
By graveyard, I mean the actual graveyard that's out back, the Native American graveyard that we've built the park on.
Yeah, by graveyard shift, I mean the shift in the graveyard. It's like the sequel would have been like The Exorcist.
This movie is why we do this freaking show. It's so wonderful.
8 for me in this category, and we're finally. I should have given one of those forward your mail kind of comment for what's memorable moments.
Well, it's so true. When you talk about just various elements of this movie being memorable, and Jack, you talked about Beth with the acoustic guitar. I have never forgotten that from the first moment that I saw it. You don't forget, one thing that you don't forget about this movie is you don't forget the melange of crap that's in it. It's just like, it doesn't matter what order the crap is in. You remember the crap. and that's not a bad thing. I can't argue with the fact that I have these recollections, and even watching the European cut versus the other one, it's just like, I'm like, something's off here. But it doesn't matter because you still have this recollection of, oh, this is what's going to come. This is, this is going to show up. This is this. And I think so for me, there's all these great, you are always going to come back to certain elements of it. I mean, whether you can pinpoint one exactly, not necessarily, but there's always going to be something that you're going to remember from this. And so for that, I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I have to dig in a little bit, because I think, as you said, you remember elements of this film. You don't remember the story of this film.
I do.
I will never forget, the boys just hanging out around the pool in full makeup. I will certainly remember them using their powers. But as far as Samuel and Melissa, that, take up the majority of the time, they're gone out of my mind rather quickly. I'm not giving it a bad score because I will remember a lot of it, but I'll probably end up rewatching it again in 6 months because I'll go, there had to be more story than I remember. So I can only go as high as a 7. Hate dinging it, but I did.
Hey, that's still a good score. I got a 9 on this because to me it is a totally memorable movie, and I hadn't seen it since I probably watched the VHS copy many, many years ago, and everything about it, just especially some reason the lab where Kiss is stuck in it. That scene is just stuck in my mind. It's just like all of a sudden these laser things show up, and you're like. The bars and just the whole thing and the bass, like it's just all stuck in my head. The horror or Chamber of Horrors and it's probably where I probably did get the first sense of what a full concert with Kiss would be like in Power, and it's just a really memorable. And the WTFs are memorable as well, and the version of Kiss, Beth again, which deserves another mention because it's just so great. And the only time you actually hear Peter Criss speaking in the movie. I got a nice solid 9 on this for me.
I think I agree with Nick that individual parts of the movie may not stick, but I think it's one of those movies that's like a benchmark or a template for this kind of movie. It is the measuring stick that I use for rock stars doing a movie about themselves. I think, you mentioned the Beth thing is great. The live, the stage stuff is great. I think I was lucky enough that my older brother, Billy, was a big Kiss fan when I was, a teenager. And so around the house we had the VHS of Phantom of the Park, and we had the VHS of Kiss Exposed, and so at the same time I was getting into the music. I was only getting to the music at that point, but I was also getting into the characters of them at the same time. So that part really sticks for me. So 8 out of 10 for me as well in this category.
Kiss Exposed was where I was like, hey. Nude women hang around, not rock stars. I want to become a rock star.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
and the fact that they were balls out enough to just do it. There was no, and it was because again, the great thing about Kiss is that we could do Kiss Exposed on the show, and it would score high too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not bad. That's not a bad idea at all.
All right, crazy concept.
We should just turn this into a show about Kiss. I'm good with that.
Well, so what was it that you were saying, Jack? That this was, that this is Kiss attempting to do A Hard Day's Night?
Meet Star Wars.
Meet Star Wars. So if you take A Hard Day's Night meets Star Wars, and then you show me this movie, and that this is what they managed out of that, and it's a 300 for crazy concept, thinking that you could even draw the line between Hard Day's Night, Star Wars, and Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, because there's really nothing at all other than the fact that you have somewhat space-like creatures, and the fact that you have a band. That's about it. The only thing that I will say that's not crazy about this is that it's Hanna-Barbera and they did a Scooby-Doo plot. But really otherwise, like, this is completely, for what they were aiming for, it's completely off, it's completely crazy. If Gene and Paul wanted Gone with the Wind, well, they sure as hell didn't get it. And so for me, I gotta go high on this. I gotta go with a 9.
Crazy concept. I'm going to ding it just a teeny bit because, the concept at a certain stage was let's make a Kiss movie. And the rest sort of followed. I don't know if the concept was any more thought out than that. other elements started to creep in, making it weirder and weirder. But still, I mean, I'm still giving it a very respectable 9.
I'm not as high on this one as you guys. I got a 7 for this. It is a crazy concept, but it's a total cash in also. It's a marketing thing. It's, hey, we're as big as we can be from our music. Literally, the management said to Kiss, we're as big as we can be from music and from touring. So what we need to do is do other things to get your name out there. And they came up with the comic book, and then that led to this. And it's like it's a total cash in that way. So that means that it's not a crazy concept, because on a cash ins you don't put in too crazy a concept. Made for TV movie or whatever. But there is enough here that is a crazy concept, just from the idea that you take these guys who don't know how to act, give them a crash course in it, and then not give them their lines till like 10 seconds before they shoot, and then tell them what they're supposed to say, and then they say it, and you expect a good movie. Like that's that.
Oh, I don't think they were expecting that.
Oh, let me tell you, Kiss when they saw the preview, everybody loved it except for them. They had no idea that they were in such a piece of shit. So they were worried, but they had no idea it was as bad as it was. So, but it's so wonderfully bad. So I got a 7.
I think that pitch of that it's going to be Star Wars is awesome.
Yeah. It's a horror movie. It's going to be like Star Wars on a hard day night.
I was struck watching this that not dealing with Phantom of the Park is almost as big a miss for that 70s show as not having dealt with the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh yeah.
I feel like both of them are on that show, and they're like, Gene Simmons appeared on the show, or someone actually, is it just someone that looks like that's dressed as Gene Simmons? I can't remember. So I happened to look it up. So this aired on NBC on October 28, 1978. 3 weeks later on CBS was the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh my God!
You talk about the zeitgeist.
That's brilliant.
That is brilliant. So good.
That intersection of 70s culture and mounds of cocaine.
How do we get the Holiday Special into this show?
Well, if there weren't members of the team that had problems with holiday themed films, I think it might have made it already. It's but I think just the weirdness of this goddamn thing. 9 out of 10 for me as well. Wrapping us up at a amazing 82 out of 100, which puts it in 11th place overall in the Octagon.
Yeah.
The Octagon now including over 100 films. This came in at 11, right behind 1934's Maniac and right before 1984's Furious.
It really deserves it, because as much as it's not perfect, you could never call it the most perfect example of B. But what you can call it is such an amazing example that everybody has some sort of recollection of, that can all be a different recollection of.
Well, it's everything we're looking for, and that it's not good, and it's so damn entertaining.
Because
that's the whole point.
It's hard to hate Kiss in it, and that's the thing, right? You just even though they're totally selling out, but I mean they've been doing that for 40 years. But I mean it's just so
sell
great.
Fast. Sell out fast, avoid the rush. That's
so great, so great.
No, I love this movie. But so now the next question is, will we love Caveman starring Ringo Starr as much? Is Caveman, is that supposed to be a Hard Day's Night meets The Croods or something like that?
Well,
Meets 1
was
million
what,
years
1980? Was it
Meets 1 million years BC is what it's going to meet. I want to say yes, 1981.
81. Okay.
1981.
A couple of years, 2-3 years after this. So we'll see if any lessons were learned.
Well, I don't think Caveman is a TV movie, though, is it?
No,
it was a theatrical, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be very different for sure. But James, some business.
All right. Well, the Octagon we mentioned earlier, you can find that on wetalkpodcasts.com. We Talk Podcasts are our show sponsor. They also have a Facebook and they have a Twitter. We are on Instagram at the Cult Film Showdown. And please talk to us there. Share what B movies you're watching. And also please subscribe and rate the show on your favorite podcast sites, all of your favorite sites. Reviews help other people find the show.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed talking about Kiss Meets the Phantom. I think it's well worth a watch again, and you know, if nothing else, the music is amazing. So, does anybody have anything else?
I think we needed this after you know, a couple films that have been more disappointing recently. I think that this was a palate cleanser and it makes me anxious to get back to recording another show right away.
Rock and roll has been a good one for us this season. When you consider that, you know, like Rock and Roll Nightmare, the best part of UHF involved music, and Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. I mean, you know, like when you add music to this season, it's been the best.
Yeah, I agree. Music is the best with everything.
It's true. All right. Well, let's go home so that we can actually start watching some more movies. So, for Jim and for Jack and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and thanks for watching Cult Film Showdown.
Hey, I remember. Look, it's rock and roll.
Star Child. No gratitude need be voiced. Your mind speaks to us.
You're looking for someone, but it's not Kiss. He was here. Sam's still in the park.
What exactly did he say? It's a cosmic force field which protects our talismans.
Without them, no powers.
We're just ordinary human beings.
Not quite ordinary.
I me bucko with a scurvy crew steaming close behind, and I do mean steaming.
Gene's clean.
A pussycat. Almost.
Hi, Curly.
Gene's brother was an only child.
Easy, Catman. They are serious.
And they've got guns.
He's convinced you did it, but the investigation's a stroke. He just wants the guy off his back. He's sweating the possibility that we might pull out. He's just plain sweating.
You're welcome.
Is there something wrong, Demon?
I'm not sure.
Your fire signs worry too much.
This Deveraux cat has the whole world wired.
Not this cat.
You're on your knives now, kitty.
Let's find that cat, man.
Affirmative. Find Deveraux.
Let's stop this pussyfooting around.
Right. Left.
Dead center. Yikes.
Apes is more like it.
They're not real, they're robots.
They all lose their heads over you, Paul. Watch out!
Modesty's always been his strongest suit.
This is unreal.
It's all unreal.
Deveraux.
Looks like we made the wrong turn.
Audio aids. Nice touch.
Discretion is the better part of...
Enough said. Ace.
Seems a little too quiet if you ask me.
Yep.
Well, why didn't you say so?
It's Sam.
Wonder what his trip is.
His trip's a trap.
Let's bring it.
Let's go.
I don't believe it! This dead man won't die!
Ace, what are you waiting for? Get us out of here.
Concentrate.
So much for my solo.
We better ad lib it from here on.
So that's why those guards thought it was you.
He's really got you down, Demon.
All of us.
You'll never pass them off as us on stage. What about our music?
In what way?
We don't work with a second act, Deveraux. Besides, Armageddon is a lame group.
So that's it. Get in the whip of the crowd.
Incite a riot, destroy the park.
Blame it on us.
Right. We've got to get out of here.
Leave it to me, Star Child. I'll bend these beams with my mind.
Not yours.
Ours.
Concentrate.
Got to try. Does everybody